There it is. Right up there, I was dancing with Marcia Kessler.
Not in 1946, though.
No, it would be about 1956 with Bobby V, Rubber Ball.
When I was a little girl, the JCC was in an old mansion in Hyde Park. And there was an old man who worked there named Finke. I think he was Mr. Finkelstein. And he was the sweetest person.
Remember the old Jewish Community Center that was red brick on,
Where?
I think it was North Boulevard, right in Hyde Park there? And Mr. Rothbard ran it, I think. Markowitz, Mr. J. Markowitz was the administrator.
I loved the building. It was old and wood paneled and very elegant. I mean, it had fallen on tough times.
They had classes at the time, and
was a
it
good
was a good place
start.
to drop us off after school. We had very, very fun carnivals. I remember very happy days at the JCC. And it was a pretty building. It was not so great inside.
Originally, the JCC was in South Tampa, and I loved it here. I grew up there. It was really fun. And then they closed it and moved north. And so people from the south just don't travel north. People from the north don't generally travel south.
The Jewish community, like the rest of our population, was moving back into the inner cities, and Tampa was no different. Gary Gould, our executive director of the Jewish Federation, called me and said, please try to find a real estate site, maybe 2 acres, that would be sufficient to do a Jewish community center. After picking me up off the ground, laughing, to try and find 2 acres in South Tampa, I started looking, and my wife and I toured Tampa and looked at various sites. Really didn't find anything that was cost effective, and I called the city of Tampa. Jim Schimberg was then our attorney for the city, and asked him if he knew anything, and he directed me to the Armory.
So I get a call one day from David. He says, I have an idea. Can I come talk to you about it? I said, sure. He said, the old Fort Homer Hesterly Armory would make a great JCC. I said, yeah, it sure would.
The building itself was built in the late 30s, early 40s, and opened on December the 8th, 1941, the day after Pearl Harbor. Over the years, the Armory has been used for many, many things.
That was the venue in Tampa. There was nothing else that could hold that many people.
I used to go there as a child for graduations, and my favorite thing was the rock and mineral show.
The bellman waiters. These were men who were either waiters or bellmen in the hotels and restaurants around Tampa. And each year at Christmas time, they had the most fabulous Christmas party. And it was a big deal. It was a social event in the African American community right here in the Armory.
Seeing the Harlem Globetrotters every year, but got all kinds of concerts.
I was very proud. When I was in 6th grade at Gorey School, we had our spring concert here, and I got to announce the songs we were singing, and it was like a life thrill.
Yeah, E.J. Salsinas, I interviewed him, and he actually sang in Hebrew at the Armory for an event.
Really?
This was at the beginning of the Korean War, and they did an Americanism pageant, and they wanted someone to sing a Jewish song. So this was at Wilson, and they pulled a Jewish kid out to do it. And he's like, no, you really should ask EJ.
Because his voice is better.
Yeah, and then he had that Spanish tradition of that kind of railing sound.
Yes.
The late 50s, early 60s, I would come and watch wrestling. One of my parents would take me, or my Max's brother, Oscar, used to bring me. I just remember it was hot as hell in here with all those people. It was just packed.
It was the largest venue in town at the time. So it was before Curtis Nixon's, before any of those. So yeah, we'd go to the Armory on Tuesday nights, and then we'd go to Vesuvio's and eat pizza on Kennedy Boulevard.
It was a formidable building when you were a little kid. And right before I went to camp, Elvis was coming here. I was 12, so that was 1957. And I begged my mother to take me. He had been on Ed Sullivan, and she did. And there was one little section of bleachers. The tickets, I think, were $9. And my mom had as much fun as I did. She was flabbergasted, because he was shaking his hips. And,
sure.
And it was a night I'll never forget, ever.
This is a building that will create memories for families. This is a building that will bring people together.
1, 2, 3.
So David negotiated a deal with the state and got half the property with the National Guard adjoining, which is a great thing for the Jewish community, for the Jewish Community Center to have them there. And the rest is history. I mean, to have the JCC in that is just, it's an amazing thing. It was just such a historical piece of property because it was where JFK's last speech was before Texas, and Martin Luther King spoke there.
And it's been a win-win for everybody. I mean, for West Tampa, for the city of Tampa, all the people that use it. I mean, I have members of my firm that now belong to it. They're not Jewish, and they work out there. And I mean, it's just been a great community treasure.